We're about to dive into a single night, a night that sent shockwaves through the entire world of music and culture. I mean, this was the night one of the most iconic voices in history was silenced. So let's get into it. This is the story of the final hours of Tupac Shakur.
You know, for Tupac, and honestly for the whole world of hip-hop, that statement couldn't be more true. A night that was supposed to be a celebration, it just spiraled into this awful tragedy. And what's crazy is, decades later, it still feels so raw, so unresolved.
Okay, so let's set the scene. The date, September 7th, 1996, and the place is, of course, Las Vegas. You know, a city that's all about spectacle and high stakes. It was kinda the perfect and maybe tragic backdrop for everything that was about to go down.
Just try to picture the energy that night. Vegas is just electric. The streets are buzzing, you've got music everywhere, neon lights flashing. It's a total party atmosphere, pure celebration. And who's at the heart of it all? Tupac.
So he's there for the Mike Tyson fight, which was a massive deal. And from everything we know, Tupac is on top of the world. He's confident. He's got all this energy. He's with his crew. He wasn't just another person in the crowd, you know? He was the star. And you can bet everyone in that building felt his presence.
But this is where things start to take a turn. Right there, inside the hotel, that perfect night starts to crack. And a chain of events kicks off that, well, nobody could stop. And that's the big question, right? The one that hangs over this whole story. What was the trigger? What was that one moment that flipped the switch from celebration to tragedy? Well, it all kicked off with a fight in the lobby of the MGM Grand. There's actual surveillance footage of it. You can see a fight break out, and Tupac, who's clearly emotional and amped up, he just jumps right into the middle of it. Now, at the time, it probably just looked like a scuffle, nothing major, but looking back, man, you can see it so clearly. This was the spark. All right, so we're moving from the chaos inside the hotel lobby, and now the story spills out onto the streets of Vegas. And that vibrant, electric energy of the city, it's about to get real dark, real fast. So, a little while later, picture this. Tupac's riding passenger in a black BMW. Suge Knight is behind the wheel. They're heading to an after-party at a nightclub. The streets are still packed, music is blasting from cars. For them, the night was just getting started. And this is where everything just changes in a heartbeat. It's 11:15 p.m. Their BMW stops at a red light. A white Cadillac just, boom, pulls up alongside them. And then, boom, in a flash, the whole night is just shattered by gunfire.
Tupac was hit 4 times. Just 4. It's such a simple number, but it's so brutal. It tells you everything you need to know about how violent this ambush was.
And it's just total chaos, absolute panic. Suge Knight, who was also hit, slams on the gas. He's just desperately weaving through traffic, trying to get his friend, one of the biggest stars on the planet, to safety.
So now the story shifts. We go from that violent chaos on the street to the quiet, tense atmosphere of a hospital. And for the next 6 days, the whole world is basically holding its breath, waiting, holding a vigil for a voice that defined a generation. He's rushed to the hospital, right into emergency surgery. I mean, his injuries were incredibly severe. He's put on life support, and the doctors are just fighting around the clock, doing everything humanly possible to save him. And for 6 days, he hung on. 6 really long days filled with hope and prayers and just this agonizing uncertainty. You had fans, family, everyone gathered outside just waiting for some kind of miracle. But that miracle, it never came. On September 13th, 1996, exactly 6 days after he was shot, Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. Just like that, the voice was gone. He was just 25 years old. Think about that. All that talent, all that promise, just cut short. You know, his death just set off this firestorm of theories and speculation that honestly is still going on today. But if you look past all the mysteries surrounding his death, the truth of who he was, his legacy, that's what really remains. And really, 2 completely different stories came out of his death. On one hand, you had all the rumors, gang retaliation, beefs in the music industry, huge conspiracy theories, all that stuff. But then you have the reality of who the man actually was, a poet, an activist, and, more than anything, a voice for people who felt like they didn't have one. And that's why he's still so important, right?
Tupac wasn't just making songs. He was telling stories about real life. He talked about struggle, about injustice, about just trying to survive with this raw honesty that nobody else had. And millions of people heard that, they saw their own lives in his words, and they connected with his truth in a really deep way.
So, at the end of the day, yeah, the story of his final hours is an absolute tragedy. There's no doubt about it. But that's not what defines him. The impact of his life, his words, his art, that's the stuff that continues to echo, to inspire, and even to challenge us. And that's what cements his place as a true immortal icon.